All right, good afternoon, everyone. We are the Draft Night Pod. Recording this on Wednesday. It is March 5th. I'm Ron Hearn, joined by my buddy Brandon B. Cooley.
What up?
Um, we're back. So, podcast number 4. So, here's the pod plan. We'll get into some Mavs, which we can't escape, seemingly. The Cowboys are doing stuff. They might be good things for once, so we'll get into that. I'll do a little stars and start previewing some golf as we, kind of already in the midst of some big high level tournaments going on. We're trudging along towards major season. I'm getting excited. Full swings out. The weather's getting warmer. It's golf season, baby. So I'm excited about that. Let's
Oh,
get into it. Let's
yes,
get into the beer. Man, it is.
absolutely.
What is on the agenda this week on the beer side?
Yeah, so you inspired me last week with the stout, and it's, pretty chilly and windy outside, so I thought I would jump to a stout. I also had some stouts last night at Black Hawk Brewery here in Prosper. Martin House always has the best art on their cans, so I decided to go with Martin House. They've got the Thunder Crunch. It's a stout with it's a play on the ingredients in the old Star Crunch Little Debbie snack that, I don't know if you ever had those, but they would tear the roof of your mouth up. They were delicious. I absolutely loved them. This is really, really sweet. I wasn't anticipating, which I guess I should have based on the fact it says caramel syrup as number one ingredient. So it's incredibly easy to drink, and it's a 12.2% ABV. Dangerous a little bit, but fortunately they're heavy, hard to pound, but I'm gonna do my best. What do you got over there?
So I have, along those same lines, a stout called Black Matter. This is one of my
Nice.
favorite breweries. So Manhattan Project. They're down. Are they in Trinity Groves?
Yes, they are. There's a restaurant called Luck that I don't know if it's still there, but it's in that same strip as Luck.
Okay. Okay. Like every time I get down to Trinity Groves, I mean to go and never gone, even though it's one of my favorite beers. Typically, I'm getting it at HEB too. And so I drink all of their stuff. Half-Life is awesome. I really like to pound the Quarter Life in the summer. I think it's a great pool beer. It's like 5.2%, 100 calories, but it has
Can't
like
beat that.
90%. Yeah, you really can't, right? It has that full IPA taste that Half-Life has. So that's one of my favorites. And once in a while they'll do like a pina colada IPA. I forget what it's called, but that one's really good too. So just an awesome brewery all around. As you can see, this is indeed Black Matter. It is very dark, very tasty. Not quite as strong as yours. This is 8.6%, but it still comes in a 4 pack because a four is more than enough.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward. You posted on Facebook earlier this week about Martin House's first slushy beer that they're rolling out. And I cannot wait because 903 has a ton of really good slushies, and I've always liked them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that Martin House is finally jumping on that train. I think it's going to be pretty tasty.
I've not been. I assume you've been to Martin House.
Oh, tons of times.
Is it worth the trip?
Oh yeah, Sourfest every year. Sours are probably my
Okay.
favorite type of beer,
I'm a
and
fan.
every year they do their Sourfest. The first one I went to was whenever they partnered with Best Made for the dill pickle beer. They
Yeah.
rolled that out. They had the Bloody Mary beer. They had a mustard pickle beer that was possibly the best out of the entire Best Made lineup. It was surprisingly delicious. It tasted like mustard and relish. It was bizarre, but it was so good. And then they have it. I think they had their draft wall had. I think they had 16 different sours altogether. Amazing time.
Yeah, I got to make the trip out there at some point. You mentioned the art, which I agree is fantastic. It always catches my eye when I'm at the grocery store. In my opinion, it's Martin House and it's Celestial in Dallas that does the best
Yeah.
art of any brewery I've ever seen. It's incredible. I almost, want to keep the can sometimes just because it's really cool what they do with that. So I do have plans to get down to Celestial probably tomorrow or Friday. So they've been in the news because they have the Sell the Team beer that they're promoting, and they've been posting that a lot on social media and have been very, very vocal since the Mavs traded Luca. And so I want to get down and buy me some of that. So you might see me sipping on some of that on social media here in a day or two.
I'm hoping that at some point our fan base is going to be big enough that we can do our record at the brewery while we're tasting their beverages. For the fans that are watching, share this out so we can make that happen. I would love to spend half my day at a brewery talking about sports and drinking beer.
1,000%. And I'd love to see, and even in the meantime, right? If we just do some hangouts, maybe we just
Mhm.
pick a spot and just go hang out, talk sports, drink some beer. I'd love to do that too. So yeah, I have a couple shout outs this week. I want to shout out my guy TJ Wheat. I talked to him this morning. He was very complimentary of the podcast and everything that we're doing, and is having a good time listening. So shout out TJ. Another good buddy this week, back from South Texas, Aaron Cavazos. He shouted out some of the Mavs and Cowboys content and the Astros content, which I can't wait to get back to at some point. Shout outs on your end this week.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Brad Hogan. He's been a great supporter of the podcast so far.
Yep.
He's done a phenomenal job of liking, commenting, and sharing every single thing that we put out. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate the support.
Yes, I ditto on that. Uh, he indeed has been. I see him commenting, see him liking our stuff. So thanks on my end too, Brad. So let's get into it. For once, nothing at all went wrong with the Dallas Mavericks. Clean, quiet week. JK. So 2 days ago, Kyrie Irving tears his ACL. He's done for the year. So, they're saying 9 to 12 month recovery time, which I think is about right. Jamal Murray had this similar injury, and he was younger. He had the injury a couple years ago, and he missed a full year. So it's devastating. It piles on to what has already been a miserable, 5, 6 weeks here for the Dallas Mavericks, for the Dallas Mavericks players, for the Dallas Mavericks fan base. So I tuned into this game um, because I am a masochist. I love pain. So that was Monday night. I was like, okay, I don't really have anything going on. I'm gonna turn on the game. I'm gonna watch it, and I'll be damned if 2 quarters in, not even 2 quarters in, a quarter and a half, this happens. I think you texted me or I texted you immediately.
So
Yeah,
you text
how'd you
me
feel?
because I had
Okay,
just gotten done putting my kids, getting them ready for bed and in
that's
bed, and
right.
my wife and I had just sat down in the media room to start watching some TV. So the game wasn't even on my radar yet. And then I literally sat down. You text me that, and I'm like, of course he did, because of
You
course he
didn't text
did.
me
And
back.
then, did I not?
I texted you, and then I was like, I said something to the effect of, he's done, right? I saw the play, he's done. And then I don't think you texted me back, and I was like, I don't know if he's went into depression.
Hang on, we're going to verify this because I don't believe that to be true. But you know what? Maybe it is. You text me, you said Kyrie down doesn't look good. And then I said, I just got the kids down, haven't been watching. So I messaged you immediately. Don't give me that.
It
Come
was the
on
mess. It was
now.
the message after that,
You
or something.
you said, oh, you said blew out his knee because I asked what the injury
Yes.
was. And then no, you didn't tell me he was done. It doesn't matter. What does matter is Kyrie is effectively done for the season and likely next season. And the fact that he's got a player option next year, what
Yeah.
reason does he have to take the player option, stay with the Mavericks at this point? I mean, and with his injury, I think you probably agree with me that the season is effectively done because now that our best offensive weapon and only ball handler is now out for the year, I don't see them bringing back AD at all. There's no reason to rush that injury. I don't see Gafford coming back. Keep Lively on the bench to heal up as well. I mean, it's garbage time now. I think you rent some guys, just throw some people out there, let them do well, and then maybe we get Cooper Flag next year.
All right. So you're officially on the record as Team Tank then.
What good could we possibly get in the time that this Luka trade has happened? The Lakers have gone from the fifth seed to the second seed. They're on a 7 game win streak, I might add, and whipping everybody's ass. And if you watched the Pelicans game last night, Luke and LeBron just put on an absolute clinic. It was beautiful. And the Mavericks have gone from the seventh seed to the 10th seed. So now, at this point, while we still have a 3 game lead over the 11 seed and below, who's going to play? Who's going to produce? I talked about this 2 shows ago when I was looking at what the remaining roster was and the depth, excuse me, that we have and the lack thereof, I should say. So I don't see anything good coming out. And yes, Team Tank, sign me up. It's on the record now.
I am right there with you. I am also on Team Tank. I want us to lose every single game from here on out. The only thing that matters now is getting a better draft pick. I was wondering, I want to get your thoughts on this. So, for the rest of the Mavs games, during intros, so for the longest time, it was Luca who got introduced last. He got the big ovation, right? What are the odds that that is now Dwight Powell's spot?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And the problem is, you're probably not wrong. That's exactly what they would do. Because, I mean, as far as the starting roster goes, is he
Yeah.
the most household name on the team?
For Mavs fans, yes.
Yeah.
Intuitively, it's probably Klay Thompson, right? And
Hmm.
like, why not just do Dwight Powell? I would love that personally. I think it's hilarious. That's what this season has come to, right? It was once Luca. If it's not Luca, you can always count on Kyrie. It was Klay at one point this season. It was for one game, but we could be in a position where it is Dwight Powell getting the that spot of honor of getting introduced last at Mavericks games. How did
About
we
this
get
earlier
here?
today. Oh man, I don't know how we got here. It's Nico has just absolutely put this team on the spin cycle and said whatever happens happens. But I was
Yeah,
thinking this morning after the Kyrie injury and the expectation of all these other starters not coming back, I'm of the opinion that when the Mavericks play the Lakers here in Dallas, or when the Lakers come here, I think they're going to sit Luka for that game, just as a slap in the face to say, we don't need him on the court. We're not going to give you the satisfaction. We're not even going to dress him.
I have not even thought about the possibility of that happening. Do you think there's some pressure? I've heard some rumblings through social media that the Mavs are preparing a tribute, which is just, I mean, after all that's been said, I'm like, just don't, right? Just, it's going to look so hypocritical and so dumb. Like, just don't do it. But I think they legitimately are. I wonder if there's any pressure on the Lakers side to, do this for Luca, or if Luca wants this to happen, right? I wonder how that's going to play into the dynamic.
I mean, if that's something that the organization does, I think that's way more for the fan base and maybe garner some love back if I'm, Nico and the front office. That's the only thing that might make sense to do that is to placate the fans. You've talked ad nauseum about the smear campaign that Luca got with his departure here. So I don't know how they could turn the complete opposite direction and say, "Hey, we're gonna really recognize this guy for his time here after we just shit on him for the last 30 days." It doesn't make any sense to me to do that.
No, agreed. You look completely two-faced. You're the guy that nobody likes. You're
Mhm.
kind of, you say one thing to somebody's face, but behind their back, you're over there talking trash. I hope they don't do it. I think they will. We'll see. What's interesting. Well, first, let me wrap on the Kyrie thing. So I ranted on this yesterday. Me and you sat here a week ago, right? And I think we've actually talked about this multiple times. We all saw this coming. We were playing Kyrie the most minutes of anybody in the league since the Luka trade, on a 32-year-old body with an injury history that already had a bulging disc in his back. As far as I'm concerned, it's your negligence that caused this. You made the trade. There was nobody else to help Kyrie. We had no other competent ball handlers. You put this giant workload on him. You ran him into the ground. To me, it's negligence. It's an abomination. It's despicable. How much money did you cost him? You already cost Luka 100 million. How much money is this going to cost Kyrie? Right? Is Kyrie's career done? How many 32-year-old 6'2" guards have come back from an ACL injury?
I don't have the facts to back it up, but I can't imagine that list is very long. And if they do come back, I mean, I think this situation's so unique. I was going to say if he would come back, it wouldn't be to this organization because of what they've just done. Um, but I don't see him coming back to the Mavericks. Like I said, that player option's not going to be executed. He's going to say thanks but no thanks and go. Maybe he decides to team back up with Luca and his old teammate LeBron.
Yeah. I saw uh, in the media there was a couple reporters that said that there was, a chance that there was max offers on the table for Kyrie this summer. Either max extension from the Mavs or if he chose to wait it out, max contract offer from somebody else. I can't see anybody doing that now. Why would you give it's a huge risk. You're gonna, pay a max contract to a 33-year-old 6'2" guard?
No.
No. So, I mean, it's sad.
Mm.
I feel so bad for Kyrie. He fought his ass off, right? He really changed his perception around the league since he's been in Dallas. He's kind of been everything that you'd want him to be. He's been a leader. Every time he talks in a press conference, I'm just blown away. and he's backed it up on the court, and now his future is in jeopardy. I feel terrible for the guy. I feel
Yeah,
terrible.
but you know what? It's okay because with all the bad things, all the injuries, the trade, everything, there's at least got to be the silver lining that after all this, the organization's going to lower ticket prices for next season, right?
So 6 hours before Kyrie tears his ACL, I get the email from the Dallas Mavericks organization about my season ticket renewal. And so they decided to raise my particular seats 13% for next year. If I decided not to proceed, but I still wanted my playoff package. And the reason why I'd want the playoff package is in case we play the Lakers. That's the only reason I was thinking about signing up. Um, they said if I didn't renew my season tickets, I would have to pay for every potential playoff game up front. So essentially, I would be loaning the Mavs several $1,000s until June or May or whatever it is, which to me is just par for the course for what has become a terrible organization that doesn't give a shit about its fans. The saddest part about this, honestly, Brandon, is man, had they just given me something, I might have went to bat, right? Like I was seriously considering, had they come to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna actually give you a slight price decrease, or maybe even stay the same," I might have went to Michaela, my wife, and been like, you know what, maybe we should keep the tickets, just because I love basketball, even if I don't have the same love for the Mavs. But they gave me nothing. They're like, nah, yeah, we traded Luca, yeah, we screwed you guys over, but also we want more money. To hell with them, man. So yeah, we needless to say have went ahead with the cancellation. My brother canceled his season tickets. I know of two other people personally that have canceled their season tickets. So I do wonder when we're going to start to hear about the financial situation that the Mavericks are in. How soon could that happen, do you think? Are we weeks away from something breaking in the media?
I don't know because when you think about it, they just saved $345 million by trading Luca.
That's true.
So maybe they were hedging their bets that with this they would lose some money on the season ticket standpoint. But realistically, with the bankroll that the new ownership has, I don't think it's really going to be that as big of an issue or hit the media. It might another organization. I don't know though. But I'm very curious to see because I know I've mentioned the show before that my in-laws have been season ticket holders for 2 decades, and seeing their displeasure in the way that everything's going on and hearing the things that they're saying about what their future with the Mavericks season ticket holders is, that really makes me turn my head pretty fast because if these loyalists that have been here forever watching this team through thick and thin are saying, you know what, maybe we don't want to continue, that's not going to be, limited to just them. There's going to be a lot of other longtime ticket holders that are probably in the same camp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, as we start to think about the future of the Mavs, Kyrie's out 9 to 12 months. This is not going to be a good basketball team,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Shams broke the story yesterday that Anthony Davis is quote unquote going to have some tough conversations with the Mavericks. Think if I'm Anthony Davis, why do I want to stick around, right? I'm 32 years old. I want to go chase rings. Why do I want to be in Dallas?
well, he is owed a favor from the Mavericks right now too, because with his trade and coming in,
Yeah.
he waived $9 million of his player option to come here so they could build the roster a little bit better and get some more pieces. Granted, 9 million is not a lot, but still, that was him in good faith saying, "I want to make a difference here."
Yeah. So what does AD owe the Mavs? You're right. Like the Mavs owe him. So if I mean, I think we're going to go into this summer. I think Rich Paul is going to be like, hey, we need to get you out of Dallas and we need to get you to Miami or one of the East Coast powerhouse, maybe Milwaukee. I don't know if there's a way to work that deal. But it makes zero sense, really, especially if Kyrie's out all of next season. It makes zero sense for him to spend any more of his career wasting away in Dallas.
Agreed, because unless they pick up an amazing ball handler, which once again, they're not going to get that guy in the draft. And we've already
Yeah.
talked about the fact that the way they treated Luca, no big names are going to want to come here to experience anything similar. So and he's not equipped to carry the ball down the court. At least not
Right.
every possession. On a here and there situation, sure, but he's not the guy to bring the ball down the court. So I, if I'm him, I'm wanting out yesterday.
Yeah. Agreed. And because of that, I mean, I just think that the future looks bleak. If Nico sticks around, I do think he's going to stay and win now, but he has to. He doesn't have a choice. If he moves into rebuild mode, then he's already admitting defeat on the Luka trade, not even 6 months after it happened. There's no way he can possibly do that. So our future looks bleak. What I see in the future is we're going to trade the rest of our picks, any assets that we have left to try and acquire veterans that fit this current team to try and make a run now, but there's no way. There's nobody that I see that we can add that, will take us over the top, with Kyrie hurt
Mhm.
and the rest of the roster. I don't see that avenue. So it sucks because because you can still trade these guys and get stuff back, right? You can trade AD, get a couple firsts, you can trade Clay, get a first. There's guys on the roster that have value around the league, where we could get some of that back and start over, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Mavs are going to be bad for a long time, and so good luck getting season ticket holders to pay more for that.
You said you think the Mavs are going to be bad for the next 10 years. So let's assume
Yeah.
they fire Nico. Let's assume that
Yep.
happens and they bring in a new GM and he tries to do things, whatever. Is the damage already been done? I mean, if they bring in, who wants to take that job? Who wants to come into this shit show and say, you know what? Yes, I want to pick up the pieces of the fallout from Nico Harrison and everything he's done to this organization, and I'm gonna fix this. Who wants that job? Can it be done? I know I wouldn't. If I'm a front office guy, there's no way I'm touching
Yeah.
this organization with a 10-foot pole right now.
Yeah. That's a good point. I want to bring up that I've changed my stance. I no longer want Nico fired. And the reason for that is I want him to be around for the next 10 years while the Mavericks are terrible. And I want him to look us in the eyes and be there for every game and hear all the Nico sucks chants. I want him to stick around for that, right? I don't want him to get the easy way out, to cut bait and have him go and work for Nike again or go get a job with the Lakers or whatever it is. No, I want him to stick around and be part of what it is that he created. So I'm changing my stance on that. And I want Nico, I want you to stay in Dallas for a while, buddy. Now, that being said, as far as another GM, I'm kind of mixed on it. I do think the job has some intrigue in the sense that the owners are clear basketball idiots, right? Dumont's a moron. He doesn't know anything about basketball. So I do think for a potential GM candidate, if you look at it as, hey, I'm going to go to Dallas and I'm going to have 100% control, right? I have 100% decision-making authority. I think that has some value. The owners have deep pockets, so you can spend if you have to. It will be difficult, right? Because so many of our picks we no longer control
Right.
because Nico's traded that away. But if AD is still here and Kyrie's still here and Klay Thompson's still here, you can make some trades and get some picks back. So I think it's a mid-level job. I don't think it's super attractive, but I don't think it's a bottom job, that you'd get in like Charlotte or New Orleans or something.
Or are you then suggesting that best case scenario is we trade everything we possibly can and just rebuild, like straight rebuild, like don't even have a cornerstone necessarily, just get young guys, develop them, and do the best we can?
It's best case scenario for us because we get to start from scratch and we just start over, we draft some young players, we start to heal, right? As Mavs fans, as a fan base, we get to heal, get some relationships going with new guys and grow up again with them, right? Start building the team, hopefully start getting to the playoffs. Essentially everything that we just went through the last 7 years that kind of just got stolen from us. Let's get that started again. That's what I'd like to see. I think that would help us heal, help us get some enthusiasm back. With Nico gone, I think a lot of the hard feelings, we could just move on. Right now, we can't move on because every day some new dumb shit happens that hurts us all over again. So that's what I'd like to see happen. Do I think it happens? No. I think Nico sticks around and we go further down the black hole, unfortunately.
I mean, go back to what I said earlier about Flag. They draft Flag, not that with that, I don't think we're going to have the draft ability to do that.
No,
That's a great cornerstone to build off of.
100%. I
What do
think
you,
so. My buddies in San Antonio, they've had the luck of the Irish in terms of the number one picks, and it went from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Wemby. The Mavericks have never had that kind of luck in the lottery. Never before have we been owed it to this extent. Um, Now, if it's Nico, I don't think there's a chance in hell. The basketball gods are not giving that guy a top five pick. If he's gone, I think the Mavs have built up as a fan base. We built up enough pain and suffering that who knows, right? We definitely deserve the number one pick. But I know that's not the way it works, right? We're gonna have pretty slim odds in the lottery.
yeah,
Um,
well, the lottery may work out well because looking at what their next few games are, These are the opponents over the next several games. We got the Bucks tonight,
Good team.
the Grizzlies, the Suns,
Good
the
team.
Spurs, the Spurs again, the Rockets, the Sixers are trash,
Mm.
the Pacers, the Pistons, the Nets, which are trash, the Knicks. I mean, we have a gauntlet over the next 7 to 8 games. Only two remote reprieves in there that might result in wins. But even so, I don't think with the lineups we have, we beat the Sixers or the Nets. I don't see it happening. And the other teams, I mean, the Knicks are going to crush us. That is going to be an ugly, probably 60-point loss, very similar to what the Cavaliers did to us the day after the Luka trade, or the game after the Luka
Yeah.
trade, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, good
So,
point. Yeah, I mean, and so you talked about next week, 2 games against the Spurs. So the Spurs are behind us, right? We want them to catch us. The Suns, man, the Suns are, my God, what a shit show.
yeah.
You know, they're falling apart at the seams, but we need them to catch us. So it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks. I'll be interested this time next week when we're talking Mavs if what has happened from a standings perspective. But yeah, some critical games coming up here. Okay, we've gone on long enough on the Mavs. Let's switch gears, move it over into
Sounds
the
good.
Dallas Cowboys. So news comes out yesterday. The Cowboys signed Osa Odigizua, our vaunted tackle there. I believe the deal was 4 years, 80 million. The Cowboys are finally spending some money, albeit on their own players. What were your thoughts on the deal?
Look, I love the deal. I said after his rookie season that Odigizua was going to become a household name. I really believed because he was good. The contract, yeah, 4 year, 80 million, but it's almost $60 million in guaranteed cash. So
Okay.
that is a lot of cash for guaranteed directly against the cap. Not the end of the world though,
Yeah.
because today the Cowboys made another move and restructured CD Lamb, freed up $20 million in cap space. So that's very, very exciting because we do need a lot of help as far as actual cash goes, because I think there is the opportunity to maybe get some players, but there's so much question marks about what we get because we've had some injuries that have really affected our defensive backfield from the linebackers and up, because you had Overshown get hurt last year with an ACL tear. You had Diggs get hurt the year before, came back, got hurt again. Who knows what happens? Deron Bland got hurt. He didn't come back the same player either. And Kendricks has been hurt. He's also not going to be a long term Cowboy. But we've had so much injury in the defensive backfield that we need to get a lot of help in the draft. And I think that their number one pick, I think they need to invest every bit of it into a cornerback, someone who is going to be a ball hawking island of a lockdown cornerback. And I think that's my personal first guess or first pick. It's either that or interior offensive line, because with
Yeah.
Zach Martin's retiring, the fact that Cooper Beebe might be a good center at some point in time, and the fact that the rest of the offensive line is just a whole bunch of replacement guys. Tyler Guyton's been pretty awful. He gets flagged, it seems like 3 times a game every game. Tyler Smith
Yes.
has been probably the best offensive lineman, but we just need so much help, and we need running back help because and we talked about this last show, the running back position, while we don't need to spend a high draft pick on it, we don't need to spend a ton of money on it either. We got to get someone that's freaking dependable that can be a 3 down back that can pass protect, because Dak's going to be back next year. Like him, love him, or hate him, he's our quarterback. And the times he's been the most effective is having a good center calling protections and a good running back that can block for him. And if we
Yeah.
can make both those things happen, I think we got a really good shot at having a decent offense again.
So I really like the Osa signing. Uh, they don't have a ton of defensive tackle depth. This is a good signing. It also keeps their options open in the draft, right? So when the Cowboys make mistakes, and they've been pretty bad, I think the last couple of years from a draft standpoint, but it's because they draft for need. So they got Monty Smith, that's been a bust. And in past years, they've had other ones. Taco Charlton, remember they wanted to add him to the
Oh, I
defensive
remember.
line, bust. So they haven't had a ton of luck with high draft picks at the defensive tackle spot. So I like this, right? Lock one of them in, keep your options open, and take the best player available during the draft. Personally, I would love to see same as you, right? My number one is not corner; it is interior offensive lineman. But I'd be fine with corner. I'd be fine with defensive line. I really hope it's not a running back. It sounds like it's not going to be. I'd rather just draft a running back second, third, fourth round. So you probably didn't see this, but actually right before the pod, the news broke that they restructured Dak's contract and opened up another 15
I
million.
I did not see that. Good.
Yeah. So in the last couple of days, they've opened up close to 50 million in cap room, which makes you wonder, what else is coming down the line. The past couple of years, Jerry said he's all in, and that's complete bullshit. We know he hasn't been all in. So maybe he's starting to feel the pressure and is like, yeah, I actually need to do something here because the fan base has had enough. Um, so I'm interested to see what else is going to happen. I also think interestingly enough, the rest of the NFC East has put enough pressure on him that he needs to start making moves. So the Eagles just won a Super Bowl this past week. The Commanders traded for Deebo Samuel. What do you think about that?
You know, Debo's a good player. He's a good gadget guy, and I think he's a really
Yeah,
good number three receiver. But in the
yeah,
past, he hasn't been good since 2021. That was the last time he had a really good season, and he only had
yeah,
six touchdowns. He was a big yard guy. He had 1,400 yards, but I mean, the last 3 years, 670 yards, three touchdowns, 892 yards, seven touchdowns. That's his highest. That's his career highest in a year. The year before that was 632 yards and only two touchdowns. So while I think he could be a great piece for the Commanders, and man, that young quarterback they got is so much fun to watch. And I think they've got so much good, especially with Dan Quinn at the helm. I think they have everything they need to be really, really relevant, not only in the division, but in the conference for probably the next 5, 6 years. And to your point about the Eagles, they've been to two in the last 3 years, and they just won one. And
yeah,
they paid Saquon all the money. Did you see that
they did.
contract? That was a big
Yes,
deal. And
record
so,
setting.
which record setting was the highest ever, which good for him. I think, frankly, better for the division because they just tied up so much money in one position. I think they're going to have some inflexibility moving forward with other big players, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'd like to think about your point about Jerry feeling pressure. I'd like to think that's true. He's not all into winning, he's all into making money. And if
Yeah,
he's got to make, one splash play, if he's got to do one thing, because the fan base is still pissed off about the Schottenheimer pickup.
yeah.
Everybody's still scratching their heads about this coaching decision. So maybe I don't know. He's not a cap guy. He knows where the money's going to some degree, but Stephen Jones and Will McClay, those are the guys that are looking at the personnel and the cap all day long. So I think all this restructuring is probably them, which I'm hoping that means that Jerry is letting loose the reins a little bit on some things about the team. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it right now. This is our year, Ron. This is our year. The Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl.
You're
The
all in?
Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. No, I know we're not. I know we're not, but I'm going to lean into this toxic relationship I have and just believe, because I'm stupid, that the Cowboys are going to be relevant when I know in the deepest, darkest corners of my heart that they're not.
Right. I'm interested to see what they do with with the money that they're opening up. But so far they haven't done anything that's outside of their philosophy, which is re-sign our own players, focus on the draft, and just ignore free
Mm.
agency. Nothing. They've done nothing out of the ordinary so far. So we'll see what else they do. Jerry's already said it again this offseason that he's all in. So it's just hilarious, right? That he just continues to do that. I think he knows he's trolling. At least I hope he does. But the last point I wanted to get to on the Cowboys. So we are what, a little over a month away from the NFL draft. So,
Let's see.
I wanted to bring up creating our own draft boards,
Yeah,
kind of going over those on the show, trying to nail, I don't know, at least the first round or first half round or whatever we want to do. So, I think that would be fun. Maybe share it the week before the draft, and then we'll see how we did, who was able to nail what. And the draft's always a fun event anyway, so I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, let's figure something else. Can we just do the first round?
just for the Cowboys or the whole
Let's
league?
just do the whole damn draft board. Yeah, we'll do all 32 or whatever it is.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I love watching or reading all the mock drafts because
Me too.
there's so many that line up similarly, and you're like, okay, that makes sense, that makes sense. But there's every now and then you get a team that just takes a player that they could have got way later. It's out of left field, which is fun. So yeah, I'm all about it. Let's do the full league.
Okay. I think maybe next week we start getting into actual players. I know we got into kind of positionally, what we're thinking. And I
Mhm.
think we're pretty aligned, right? We know the valuable positions. Corner's obviously super valuable. Receiver, your tackles on the offensive line, that's super valuable. So I think maybe we get into that, bring a couple players that we like next week, start talking about them. start educating the public about what we might see and go from there. So, switching gears again, over to the Dallas Stars, which continue to win and continue to kick ass.
They do.
And it's becoming a really, really fun season and potentially the beginning of a really, really fun run. And I am on board. So I spent a good part of my Sunday afternoon watching the Stars against the hated St. Louis Blues. A game in which Lewis kind of dominated possession of the puck, but Dallas cruised, right? Like, yeah, it got down to one for a little bit there, but then they kind of opened it up at the end. And Wyatt Johnston was awesome. Robertson continues to be great. Otter definitely had his moments. I had a ton of fun, man, and I can't wait for more
Mhm.
stars. I'm in, man.
Well, and they're fun to watch right now. I mean, out of their last 10 games, they've only got 3 losses. In January, they had a 5 game win streak. They're playing fun hockey right now. And the last game against Jersey, did you watch that game?
I did not.
So it's tied 3-3, 8 seconds to go, and it's one of the final possessions of the game. Stars take it across the ice, and Harley buries one in the top corner of the net, right over the keeper's shoulder. And there were 4 seconds left on the clock. So that basically put the game on ice, no pun intended. And it was an amazing finish to the game because it was close throughout. And they're just fun to watch. It's electric, it's entertaining, and it because everybody always thinks hockey's boring. It's like hockey is like soccer. It's just they get close all the time and nothing happens. And that's not the case with the Stars. They score a lot of goals.
So they're kind of carrying the torch right now for DFW Hope.
Mhm.
And that's a big burden to carry. With everything that's happened and how heavy of a year that's been. But it kind of has some of the makings of it being a special run, right? You do feel a little bit of magic in the air, which is really freaking cool.
It is. And just like the Mavericks, I mean, we are as opposite with what this team can do against Mavericks because right now we're on team tank with the Mavs. I
Yeah.
want to see these Stars win as many games as physically possible to have a great push into the playoffs. And I think we're going to get a lot of that because, like I said, they're just fun to watch. And I was looking at the entire schedule. We haven't had a single losing streak more than 2 games at any point in time during the season. And I'm not sure how that stacks up against the rest of the league. I'd have to check that out, but I thought that was pretty impressive. In a bunch of, like here's a 6 game win streak. No, excuse me, 7 games if I can count. So they can string them together, and that's what I'm hoping happens at the end of the season to really push towards playoffs.
So one thing I want to ask the listeners. So I texted you this yesterday or the other day about how I can watch more Stars games, and you basically told me get an antenna. So I want to ask the listeners, what other options do I have that aren't illegal? I just want to know if are there hacks, right? Is there certain something that I need to subscribe to? I have YouTube TV. I'm willing to subscribe to other stuff. I just don't know what it is. I just need to know so that I can watch more games because that's what I want to do from here on out.
You know the easiest way to watch home games, right?
Is it antenna?
Go to the AAC.
You know, if my Mavs tickets were worth more, if the Mavs tickets weren't going for $6, I would sell them. But I don't know if I can get into a Stars game that cheap. In fact, I know you can't. But yes, I do intend to go to at least one more home game before the playoffs start.
Yeah, it's fun. I got to take my dad last season to a game. It was New Year's Eve game. And so that was a fun game. He got to go to his first Stars game, first and only Stars game. Got to see a win, which is even better. And so that was a good time. I love going to
Uh,
the games when I can.
yeah, especially anytime you get a chance to take somebody that hasn't been to a hockey game before, it really is like nothing else. Like I remember I'd never been to a hockey game until I moved to Dallas. I came to my first Stars game and it was mind blowing. I was like, damn, this is freaking awesome. And I've been really interested ever since. So if you get that chance, I'd say definitely take it. Um,
One
okay,
thing I'll
so to
add,
talk,
good friend of ours and friend of the show, Kelly Booth, she is a massive Stars fan. She's a season ticket holder, and she is always donating those. Like she's going to donate some, I believe, to the Master Networks golf tournament that we're doing in August. She always donates for the Carson's Crusaders. So I bet you if you battered your eyes at her really, really kindly and asked her please and thank you, she'd probably take you one of these days.
there you go. No better way.
Kelly Booth, make it happen.
Pressure's on. Okay, so let's switch to golf, something that is near and dear to both of our hearts. The
Mm.
season's ramping up. We're getting closer to some majors. Do you Have you ever watched Full Swing? Are you a fan?
I have never watched Full Swing. I have
Okay.
not. I've heard about it, I've read about it, but it's not something that's been on my radar. Tell me about it.
It's fantastic. So it's on Netflix, documentary that follows the PGA Tour and it follows Live too. So basically, top golf players it follows and it chooses certain golfers every year and it just kind of follows them throughout the season and tells you about their journey. You get up close and personal, a lot of inside access. A lot of this is filmed like within golfers' homes. So I decided on a whim I'm not a huge documentary guy, especially sports documentaries. But I decided to give the first season a chance on a whim, and I was hooked. It was fantastic, right? And so it's really what propelled Joel Damon to stardom, and it made me a huge fan of him just because his story, like, I mean, it was emotional. Um, but it kind of got you attached. It started to there was really like a human engagement that got you really rooting for some of these guys when they're out on the golf course because I think a lot of times these guys are kind of hard to root for, right? Especially the Brooks Koepkas of the world where you're just like, all right, this is 6'2", country club douche. Like I don't, what am I gonna root for this guy? But this kind of tells their stories and kind of everything that got them to where they are and what their struggles are. So it really humanizes them, and so that's what I enjoyed about the show. It brought me closer to golf. I definitely watch a lot more golf now because of it. So I highly recommend. In the first two seasons, I mean, this was like covering the live thing as it first, when it first went down. So it is high
Okay.
drama. It is like, yeah, there's a lot of really, really good content in this. So the new season just came out a couple days ago. I have watched one episode and a half. So, anybody that follows golf knows some of the big things that happened last year. They keep teasing the Scotty Scheffler incident. And
What a
so,
mess that was.
yeah. So the first episode starts off with showing them filming Happy Gilmore 2. Adam Sandler's in there, and he says, one of the funniest moments is he walks up to Bryson and he's like, "Hey, you're Bryson DeChambeau something, right?" And Bryson just starts laughing. That was what Sandler was doing. It was a fun way to start the season. So far, every season follows Rory really closely, um, but there's kind of a group. The second episode's getting back into Joel Damon, Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka. Bryson's a big part of this season. So Matt Fitzpatrick, just so many of these guys, and it's a ton of fun. Highly recommend. And it's really getting me into the swing of things as we approach the Masters. So how excited are you? Have you been watching any golf? How excited are you for major season?
Yeah, I watch a decent amount of golf. I'm pretty excited. I'm absolutely horrible at it, but that doesn't matter. I learned something from somebody because I would get really frustrated. I've always been someone I just like being good at things and I like to win. And it's just I'm competitive, especially with myself. And so golf, as you know, is so freaking hard. And so when I get really upset and I was playing with a guy he wasn't a scratch golfer, but he was probably like a 3-4 handicap. He was really good. And he's like, dude, until you get paid to be on this course to play this game, you can't get mad at yourself.
Yeah.
It's the hardest game in the world for a reason. Just have fun, enjoy it. And since that point in time, it really helped. But no, I watch a decent amount of golf, especially if I'm at the course, grabbing a drink afterwards. I'll tend to sit there for an hour or so and watch whatever tournament's playing. I'm really looking forward to this Masters. Scotty is gonna win. I mean, he's at least going to have a top three finish. I'm really looking forward to him. I love the fact that the live players can play in the Masters, even though they don't necessarily get to be in all the other PGA tournaments. I think it's going to be Scotty and Rory up in the top two.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
I'm incredibly excited for it too. It is, I mean, it's the Holy Grail. Augusta, it's the most hyped golf event of the year, and it's just a ton of fun. So I can't wait. I want to figure out an interesting way for us to face off. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm thinking like maybe we draft a top five, we draft our own golf team, so to speak, where we
Okay.
get like, one top five player, one top 15, one top 25, and then like just throw a wild card in there and we see who ends up with the best overall score. Something like that is what I'm thinking. Mix things up. I don't think it's any fun if we just go out there and my team is Rory and Scheffler and Bryson and Brooks Koepka and all. No.
Right.
I think we should mix it up, right? Let's throw some wild cards, some home run shots in there, and see if we can't have some fun with this one too. Um, I will definitely be watching as much as I possibly can.
What are the stakes?
That's a good question. We
A
could do
round of
it.
golf?
I think that makes intuitive sense.
The winner takes the other one out for a round of golf at their course of choosing, within reason.
Let's do it. Let's put some actual stakes
Okay,
on this.
done.
Of course, there's always the trash talk benefit too.
Well,
Uh, and
naturally.
so, yeah, and so I want to see if we can do some cool social media stuff. Maybe we can you can post your team and I can post my team. We could do like a poll and like see, who people think drafted the best team and kind of have some fun with it that way. So, it's coming. It'll be here. I think it starts like it's like the 10th or something like that. So we're just over a month out. So it'll be here before you know it, and I can't wait. Anything else you're thinking of on the golf side?
PGL is fun to watch.
No, I've heard good things.
Man, it's really cool. It's kind of like Top Golf, but super freaking like high tech. I mean, are you familiar with the premise at least?
I am.
Yeah, so it's just really cool to see everything. I mean, it's such a huge projector screen, and it's just really cool. It was on last night. We were at the bar, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. It brings another angle to golf that's more fun, that's faster paced, and I think that's what at least our generation has really gotten into golf because it used to be like this highly coveted only country club people would go play golf, and now it's like you
Yeah.
like to drink beer, you like to be outside, you want to go hit shit with a stick, let's go, right? And
Yeah.
and there's so many courses now that are available that it's not astronomical to go out and play around. I mean, you can go get a twilight round in the middle of summer for, 18 bucks with a cart.
Yeah.
Sign me up. And so I
Yeah.
love that it's become so much more approachable and just everybody, it's for everybody now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. And we are lucky enough to, I think, live in one of the more golf-friendly cities in the US. We just have so many different options. So, me being terrible and just, I started playing golf 4 or 5 years ago. I've gotten a really good feel for like the par three courses here in the area, just because that's what, I started with. And I still play a lot of the par three courses, and there's some that are lit, so I can do night golf. As you mentioned, like in the summer when it's 110 degrees every day, I like teeing off at 7 p.m. when things are starting to cool off a little bit. Um, so, I think there's everything from par three beginner courses to cheap public courses, all the way up to your Dallas country clubs of the world. There really is something for everyone. I agree. It's become really accessible. Um, I had one close recently, unfortunately, that makes it a little bit hard for me to hit balls. But yeah, we're about to have 2, 3 months of awesome golf weather. So can't wait.
As long as the weather stops this back and forth BS. I mean, like yesterday, the wind was insane. The sky turned
Yeah.
orange like there was a weird plague upon us.
Yeah.
And now today it was like chilly, and tomorrow it's going to be okay, and then 83 on Friday. I hate Texas weather for that reason. But yeah, you're right. Once we get into April, we're going to get into we know what to expect. Maybe some storms, of course, some storms, but play at your own risk. If it's raining, whatever. What's the worst going to happen with a metal stick and the lightning?
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing bad I don't think has ever happened. Not that I know of.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Thank you, Nico Harrison, for the dust storm from hell yesterday. That was fun. With that, let's wrap up. We are getting closer and closer, obviously, to baseball. Do you have the date for the Rangers?
And for the first game,
Yes.
it is going to be, oh, that's the New York Rangers. Let's try Texas. Texas Rangers opening
Yep.
day is March 27th. So we are 22 days away.
So 3 weeks. Okay, so I imagine we will begin to get a little deeper into some Rangers content as we approach opening day. We'll probably, obviously, continue to get into some more Cowboys draft content as we approach the draft. We'll stay on top of the Mavs and Stars, and then we'll probably pick up golf. And then we'll need to start talking Masters here rather than later. Anything else on the Dallas sports calendar we need to talk about?
Well, we need to talk about my calendar a little bit because on Tuesday of next week, I leave for Japan. I'm gone the
Oh yeah,
11th
that's
through the
right.
22nd. So we've got to figure out timing for recording. I'll bring my laptop with me, of course, and I've always got my headphones so we can figure out a time to do it. But like right now, it's 5:18 a.m. That's probably not a time I'm going to want to be awake and recording the
Yeah.
pod. So we're going to have to figure out how to marry us up and make that happen. But I think we'll be able to make it work.
Yeah, you said you were abandoning the listeners, right?
I did. That's exactly. I said, screw these guys. I'm out for 2 weeks. You got to stop this, Ron, because people take your word seriously. I had three people last week ask me, "You don't want guests on the show?" And I'm like, "No, that's not what I said. Ron's an asshole, and he's embellishing the truth here." So, Ron, I need you to say the words right now, the truth on the matter of how I feel about guests.
Um, I mean, I think you could take it or leave it. No, yeah, I think we need to set a date and we need to get somebody on. We need somebody talking Stars. We need somebody talking Rangers opening day, and start with that, right? Let's just start with those two. Get somebody. I'm really excited about this, especially like just getting some an additional perspective, additional voice on here. It's past due, so let's make it happen. I think you're right. We need to figure out your schedule first, and figure out that piece, and then see who we can bring on to make sense. I can't believe we went the whole pod without you explaining the death of Brandon Beard.
Every year I knock it off. So for those who are used to seeing me with my beard down to here, apologies in advance. But yeah, I'm going on vacation and we're doing some nice dinners, and I need to be wearing collared shirts, and collared shirts and long beard don't really go well together. So I figured why not? That'll be back like in, I don't know, 4 weeks. So just give it some time.
Okay, sweet. Anything else? I'll do my sign off first because I know you have the official podcast sign off. So thanks again for everyone for tuning in, and I'm excited for next week. We'll figure something out. We will be back. We'll continue to do pods.
All right. And, thank you all the listeners for tuning into this episode of Draft Night. For Ron Hearn, I'm Brandon Cooley. And just like always, the next round's on us.